baseball here at Smokies Park, and Hunter Morris connected a 3-run homer in the top of the first inning. The Smokies have rallied back. Junior Lake with an RBI single in the first, and then it was Matt Caesar with a triple, bringing home pitcher Dallas Beeler with 2 outs, and the Smokies have cut the lead to just a run. And along with Cody Cruciel and Roger Hoover, really great to be joined by the chairman of the Chicago Cubs visiting Smokies Park tonight, Tom Ricketts. Good to see you again, Tom. How you been?
I'm good, Mick. How have you been?
Doing well. Here's the pitch, and that's in there for a strike. So this wasn't your first stop on this tour. You actually went down to Daytona.
Yeah, well, I get out to all the affiliates every year and see all of our players of the different minor league teams. And what worked for me this year was hit Daytona first, and then come up here on my way back. And I'll be in Chicago for our home game tomorrow night.
I could tell by that nice tan that you've worked out.
No, it was a night game. I try to stay out of the sun. My wife's a dermatologist. I got to be careful with too much sun exposure.
If you got out there, you would have certainly had the right amount of lotion, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a ground shot just past the diving shortstop Lake and in the left field. Prince has a leadoff hit. 3-2 game here in the third, and we're visiting with Tom Ricketts, chairman of the Cubs. And we talked to you last year. We've had you on every year. A lot's changed, though, in the Cubs organization since we last talked to you, and including a new president and Theo Epstein. And he was the guy that was with the Boston Red Sox and helped them not to one World Series championship, but 2. And there's so many similarities between what he brings to the table and what you're trying to get to right now with the Cubs.
Well, that the first year of the family ownership, we did a lot on the business side. We have a great team president, which is Crane Kenny, and his ability to run the business side is second to none. Gave him a few extra people on his team to get that going the right way. The second year, we made the change of the president on the baseball side. And Theo came in after last season. He's brought in a lot of really good people with him. They work really hard, and we think we have a great team.
There's a strike. Stacia, 0-2. What was that process like? I mean, I know for us, being on the outside, read about it in the papers, heard about a very special trip to Starbucks maybe that Theo made. Was it really him, or was it another guy, the Starbucks right outside of Wrigley Field? And then to make it happen, I thought that, if you were going to make a change, that you were going to have to get the right guy, and I don't know how you could have done a better job.
Well, thanks. The process from my standpoint was really kind of it was like a 2-pronged process. The first thing was we went out with actually 2 different statistical analysis, both an in-house quantitative guy and a consultant. Studied every team in baseball on a bunch of different factors and saw which teams, just on a purely objective basis, were the ones that were outperforming the other teams. And so that was one part of the process. From my standpoint, the other side was I called about 20 people in baseball, people I trust, agents, other owners, other GMs, former GMs, people that I've got to know over the course of the last few years, and asked them what I should be looking for, what kind of things are important. And at the end of every discussion, every phone call and every meeting was, I'd say, look, if you were me and money wasn't an object and contracts didn't exist, who's the guy for the team? And you can imagine Theo's name came up almost every time.
Had to give the Red Sox a couple of players, though, at the end of the day to be able to get them. And I know that probably on top of the 5-year contract is tough because you want to develop players. And that process seemed to kind of go back and forth for a while, too. Were you involved in that in deciding which players, or how do you figure that out? Or was that something that even that Theo would have been involved in, the compensation for him coming over from the Red Sox? How does that work?
Well, it's just kind of a tradition or something that happens in baseball when one of the other teams will let someone out of a contract, as the Red Sox did. You give them some form of player compensation. It dragged out for a little while, but ended up in a pretty good place. Although, ironically, I guess toward the end, Theo was somewhat negotiating his own compensation, which is probably not the most, not the best system. But anyway, it all worked out fine, and we all just look forward.
Prince was running on the pitch as Stacia singles to left field. It's picked up by Perez, and Prince will stop at second base. So the Stars with a 3-2 lead in the third inning, a couple of base hits off of Beeler. Smokies down by a run and trying to keep it there. And you start to look in this lineup, and you got to pay attention to where Hunter Morris is. He's already hit a 3-run homer. And coming into this game, we talked about it, Justin Bohr, Hunter Morris, the two obvious candidates for most valuable player in the Southern League. Our guest is Tom Ricketts, chairman of the Cubs. One of the guys that was sent over for Theo Epstein to the Red Sox was former Smokies pitcher Chris Carpenter. So, kind of Smokies feel as far as that went down. And there's a bunt in the air over the mound, and that's going to be a tough play. Beeler picks it up, throws to first, and a horrible bunt turns into a lucky hit. Jeanette popped that bunt in the air. The runners had to stay still. If it was caught, they would have been out, but instead it fell in the grass between the mound and second base, and there's no play to be made.
That was about the luckiest bunt I've ever seen in my life.
It could have been a double play, and instead the bases are loaded with no outs for Gonzalez, who was hit by a pitch, his only time up. So now you got the right guy as far as who you want it to run the baseball side. You have the business side covered. Not only Crane Kenny, but also Wally Hayward, who I got a chance to work with. Great guy, Joe Rios. And now I guess the focus is on Wrigley Field and the offices and a bigger project. On top of that, building a new facility in Arizona for the spring training team, and a spot in the Dominican, a new facility going in there as well.
Well, when we started our ownership, we took a look at the things that we thought we could control and things that we could do in the short run to build for a better future for the team. And the facilities were one of those things that kind of jumped out. We went down to the Dominican right after we bought the team, or within a couple months of buying the team, and realized that our facilities down there were well below average. And our guys down there were they're doing great work. We want to give them a good place to do their jobs. So we jumped right on that. We bought a lot of land down there, and now we're building that out, and it should be ready early next year. We also realized that we were our facilities in spring training were way subpar, and we got on top of that. Worked very hard with the city of Mesa, who have been great partners for the Cubs for over 50 years, to come up with a solution that works terrifically well for us. Ground is broken there. 2014 spring training will be in play.
I'll tell you what, too, having been by the site, you couldn't have picked a better spot for the new complex, too. Kind of over there by all those stores and restaurants.
Great location, very convenient. It's near a lot of different things to do. Hopefully people who in the past have just driven to the spring training facility and just left right afterward will stay in the neighborhood or get there early and really enjoy a full day out of it, as opposed to just running to the park and running back home.
2-0 pitches down low, ball 3 to Gonzalez, so he's in the catbird seat right now. Bases loaded, no outs. Smokies down 3-2, and the Stars with their cleanup man in a spot where he can take a couple of pitches or look for a fastball. Also, I think it's going to be a lot easier to get in and out of the new complex. That's low ball 4, and Beeler's walked in a run. It's now 4-2. You got the 101 and the 202, both right there. So. Yeah. That a lot different. It's so hard to get in and out of Ho-Ho-Com Park game days if you're not early.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of the parks in the old days, I don't know if they ever were built to really hold all the people that are coming from an infrastructure standpoint, whereas I think everyone understands that if we do this right, and obviously as the team continues to improve, we'll get bigger crowds, and we have a lot of parking. And we want to make it an easy in, easy out kind of thing. But the expressways right there will help us a lot.
Here's Beeler to Morris, who's already hit a 3-run homer today, and Morris takes inside for a ball. And this is not the guy you want to fall behind.
No, we don't want to see this be a big inning here.
1 ball and no strikes, and Beeler's pitch. High and away, ball 2. Well, you've made these visits to the different minor league clubs, and now at the big league level, starting that process of moving some of the older guys out and bringing some of the younger guys in. Has that helped at all when a Brett Jackson, a Josh Vitters, Brooks Raley shows up and it's their first day and you're there and you've already met them before? I mean, do you recognize some of these guys from the visits that you've made?
Some of them, or spring training, or other times where I've just kind of been around the players. Sometimes I'll recognize a guy like Brett Jackson, someone who I would have talked to a handful of times. So I'll see him tomorrow night at Wrigley. Josh Vitters, of course, I've talked to a handful of times. So, Sometimes there's other guys I haven't talked to as often.
There's a chopper to the first baseman. Board goes to second for one. Back to first. Off of Beeler's glove. Skips into the dugout. And 2 runs will score.
But I get to know some of the players. And, of course, the guys that are with the team and then are sent down that are brought back, I always make a point of going out and saying hello to them at batting practice.
What do you like after 3 years most about being the chairman of the Cubs?
Well, it's a dream job. I mean, it really is. I get to go to baseball games for work. I get to do something that means so much to so many people. It's just, I think it's just an unbelievable thing. The only thing that, just every day I'm reminded, we have to win, and that's our focus, and just have to keep pushing forward and one step in front of the other and get a World Series to Chicago.
Haven't won one since, 1908?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. I really appreciate that.
It's going to come quick, though. I can totally see that this thing's going in the right direction, and I think Cubs fans are excited about what's coming in the future as the pitch is a strike to Kelgard, and it's 1-1. You got Castro at shortstop, who's young, and he's been to 2 All-Star games already. Barney at second base, a good piece there. And then adding Anthony Rizzo at first, as good as he is defensively and the way he can hit the ball, the infield's starting to really come together, and they're young. They could be together as a unit for a long time. Yeah, that's right. I mean, if every one of the guys who we have who are young on the team continue to develop in the way that we expect them to, we have a good young foundation to build on. And, the key is just drafting the right players and bringing them up to keep filling in the spots and doing it the right way. And that's all we're focused on right now. Well, and also the international marketplace has been kind to the Cubs here lately, too, been aggressive in trying to get some guys out of Cuba and other places.
Yeah, we've historically, we've done a very good job in Latin America. I think we have some really high-quality people down there, and they're signing good players, and obviously Castro and Marmol and those guys are from our system. This year we supplemented it a little bit with obviously Jorge Soler is a big signing for us. We think he has a lot of upside. So I think we're doing okay on the international front too. And just got to get those guys. Like I see we have Jay and Ha out here in center field. We have international players that have to develop just like our U.S. players to be as productive as they can be and get them up to Wrigley.
Stars have scored 3 times in the inning, but Kelgard strikes out, and there's 2 down and a runner at second base. And here's Kentrell Davis to the plate. Now, when the draft's going on, do you fly out to Arizona and watch it all, any of that, or is that something that you just take a report on? No,
last year this past year we did it in Chicago. 2 years ago I was in Arizona and I was there for the first half or so, just because I wanted to see the process and watch our guys at work. So it's interesting stuff. It's the one of the biggest days of the year for the team. You got to do the right stuff on draft day because it's the difference between being a winner 5 years from now and being scrambling for free agents. So, but I think our guys do a good job.
And on top of that too, is that with the new slotted draft system, unlike 2 years ago where you could take a guy late in the draft and pay him money that would maybe fit a first or a second or a third rounder in the 40th round, can't do that anymore, and that changes the way you draft as well.
Yeah, no question. The draft rules have changed. The amount of money you can spend on players has changed, so your flexibility is dramatically less.